what happens when we feel in some kind of threat is we go into fight or flight. Now, I'm not really flight when it comes to feedback is somebody just closing down in front of you. Okay, so you won't get a lot of response out of them. The feedback will go relatively quite well because the other person you're giving feedback to doesn't really say anything, and they'll go off. The only issue with that is they will just try and get away from you as quick as they can because they're trying to exit the situation. So that's what a flight response is, and that's not very useful. However, it will still allow you to give the feedback, whereas a fight response, but it might not. Okay, so when we go into a fight, remember the brain can't differentiate between fear and danger. Okay, can't differentiate between the two. So if I've used this example with you guys before, if you are fearful of spiders, I mean really fearful of spiders, if a spider came into the room, you can act like a tiger has just walked into the room. Now, if a tiger walked into your room, that would be danger. If a spider comes into your room, that would be fear. It's the same fear as public speaking, for argument's sake. If you don't particularly like doing that, you start to feel sick, worried, stressed, depressed, angry, whatever it is that comes out. The point is the brain struggles to differentiate between fear and danger. So when you are giving somebody feedback, it's kind of the chimp part of our brain takes over. And there's a few people on this call that have been reading about this recently, but the chimp part of your brain kind of takes over and it puts you into fight mode because it perceives that you're under threat at that point. And what is it that's under threat? So our basic needs are threatened and our self-esteem is threatened. Our basic needs are the need to be liked, the need to socialize, to get on with people, the need to feel good about ourselves, which links into the self-esteem. These are all basic needs that we have as human beings, some more than others, depending on your profile and all that type of stuff. But when sometimes we're giving feedback, we perceive that those things are then being threatened. And the problem is, once those things start to be threatened, we go into fight or flight. Flight we've already talked about, but in this case, fight. And we all know what happens when people start going into fight mode, especially during feedback. Well, I tell you what, you guys tell me on the chat box right now, if you're giving feedback and somebody goes into fight mode in feedback, what kind of responses are you going to get? What kind of response might you get if somebody's going into fight during giving them feedback? I'll give you a second, type something in the chat box. I'll have a swig of my machine coffee. So what kind of response? So we've got Charlotte said defensive. Shem, the person getting feedback gets very defensive. Yeah, defensive. Mick, they can shut down, not looking at you. Right, so we've got both. I like it, Pete. Dad, it's not my fault. Actually, Pete, that's a bigger one than you think. Aggressive, argumental, attack back. Okay, great. Look, guys, you've absolutely got it. We've got everything there from flight when people shut down, all the way through to people being aggressive on the back of it. And the one that Pete said there as well, Dad, it's not my fault. If we take the dad bit out, when people go defensive, they start to blame things. They blame other people. Yeah? And Sandra's put offsetting the blame. Absolutely. And depends on and Shem's put depends on the personality. Yes, it will. It will also depend, Shem, not just on their personality, but also on their level of self-confidence as well. Okay? So if their level of self-confidence is low, fight, defensive, blame other things, that's the easy route out for people. If confidence is quite high, they may take more of it on the chin to go out of there as well. So that phrase, it's not my fault, is actually quite a good response. It's not a good response, but it's a common response when people feel backed into a corner and they have to come out fighting. Now, of course, as you know, thinking, emotions, actions, results. So the moment you've got the person that you're giving the feedback into feeling defensive, the actions they're going to take next are going to give them the results that they get, okay? And normally defensive emotions, fight emotions, generally will be hindering, which means their behavior might not be great for the rest of the day. So if you gave somebody feedback and they get defensive, then you want them to go out in the afternoon and achieve peak performance, they may struggle to do that, which is why it's really, really important that actually one of the things that we need to try and do with feedback is make people feel better. And I know that might sound alien, but if we can make people feel better with the feedback, yeah, and sometimes we have to give people very direct feedback, don't get me wrong, and I'm not talking about sandwiching your feedback either, we'll come on to that. We all know what what the phrase is for the, let's just say, the bad sandwich. Yeah, I'm sure other people call it other names, but you can't give somebody good feedback, give them crap feedback, and then give them good feedback and think it's okay. That doesn't really work in the brain very well, even though that was a technique that was used for years, 20, 30 years ago. But if we can give people honest feedback and help them feel better, which by the way means helping them correct the feedback, not just giving them the feedback, then people are more likely to take better actions for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, and get better results on the back of it. So now we're starting to get into the crux of things here. Feedback isn't just about giving feedback, it's about giving feedback and helping that person correct that behavior for next time. And the 7 things I'll take you through in a moment should help you with that. That's what effective feedback's all about.